Hey there, and welcome to this deep dive. If you're fascinated by AI and its potential in education, especially on a global scale, well, you're in the right place because that's exactly what we're diving into today.
You know what's really interesting about our subject today, Dr. Fadi Amroush? He really doesn't fit the mold of a typical academic.
Right. We're talking about someone whose career crosses countries and industries, seamlessly blending AI, behavioral economics, and education.
He's gone from Syria to Spain, worked with the UN and even Meta. And on top of that, he's picked up not one, but two master's degrees with amazing grades.
Yeah, his dedication is incredible. 85.7 out of 100 in informatics engineering, focusing on AI, and then an 8.6 out of 10 in economics.
Clearly, Dr. Amroush is a high achiever, but what's really fascinating is how he's applying that drive to solve real-world problems. His path is anything but ordinary, which I think makes it even more inspiring.
You got that right. Before even starting his PhD, he was already collecting degrees, and not just for the sake of it.
Exactly. He was focused on applying that knowledge from the start.
Yeah.
He could have gone with any theoretical topic for his PhD, but he chose something incredibly practical: product selection.
His thesis, 3 essays on informatics decision support systems and product selection, dove into how AI and behavioral economics can guide people towards better choices as consumers.
And that's a perfect example of his approach, even early in his career, bridging these seemingly different fields.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. What is it about AI and behavioral economics that makes them such a powerful combination for something like product selection?
It's a great question. Think about it this way. AI excels at handling huge amounts of data and recognizing patterns. When you apply that to product selection, AI can help us understand what features are most important to people, what price points are optimal, even predict future trends.
That makes sense, but how does behavioral economics fit into all of this?
Well, behavioral economics reminds us that people don't always act rationally. Our decisions are swayed by things like cognitive biases and emotional factors.
So we're not always logical in our choices.
Exactly. Dr. Amroush realized that by combining these behavioral insights with the power of AI, you could create systems that are both intelligent and subtly guide people towards choices that are truly beneficial to them.
So it's not just about giving people a massive list of products, it's about understanding the why behind their choices and then using AI to help them navigate those choices in a way that aligns with their actual needs and wants.
Precisely. And this knack for bridging the gap between advanced technology and human behavior is something you see throughout his entire career. It's what allows him to develop solutions that are both innovative and genuinely impactful.
It's not just theory with him. He's out there making these ideas a reality. Take his work with the UN's Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia, ESCWA for short.
A perfect example. He could have pursued countless projects, but he focused on something with huge potential to change economies and empower nations.
Okay, so we've gone from AI and behavioral economics to blockchain and the UN. Now that's a combination that definitely piques my interest. What was he doing with blockchain at the UN? Everyone's talking about it these days, but it seems like very few people actually understand it or its full potential. I'll be honest, blockchain and UN together sounds a little like the start of a spy thriller. But knowing Dr. Amroush, I'm sure there's a practical application here.
You're right on the mark. He really dove into how blockchain could completely change intra-Arab trade. You see, at its core, blockchain is about tracking transactions in a way that's really secure and decentralized.
So it's reliable even between entities that might not have a lot of trust in each other.
Precisely. It's like a digital ledger everyone can agree on, making it almost impossible to cheat the system. Dr. Amroush saw this technology as a game changer for trade in the Arab region, something that could streamline supply chains, cut down on bureaucracy, and really boost economic growth.
Talk about thinking big picture. But knowing him and his passion for making complex topics accessible, I'm guessing he didn't just stop at identifying the potential of blockchain.
You're absolutely right. He went on to write a whole report for ESCWA explaining blockchain and its implications for trade in the region, and he didn't stop there. He also developed educational materials to help people and businesses actually understand and use this technology.
It's amazing how he consistently bridges that gap between theory and practice. He sees a problem, creates a sophisticated solution, then makes sure that solution is accessible to the people who need it most.
And that focus on accessibility is a cornerstone of his work with the Delani Bootcamp.
The Delani Bootcamp. Now, that's something I haven't heard of yet. It sounds intriguing.
It is. It really highlights his passion for democratizing knowledge, especially in the rapidly changing world of technology. Dr. Amroush served as the scientific consultant, academic supervisor, and lead instructor for the program. He was essentially shaping the entire experience.
Wow, talk about wearing many hats. So what was the focus of this boot camp?
The Delani Boot Camp was all about equipping people with practical skills in cutting-edge areas, particularly those that don't require years of traditional coding. They delved into no-code solutions, explored the potential of generative AI, and honed their skills in prompt engineering.
I'm sensing a theme here, accessibility. Whether it's simplifying complex ideas like blockchain or showing people how to use AI without being programmers, he's always finding ways to empower others with the tools of the future. It's like he's not just keeping pace with technology, but making sure no one gets left behind.
Exactly. It shows his belief that everyone, regardless of background or technical skill, deserves a place at the table in our increasingly tech-driven world.
And that brings us to his work with Meta, which is really fascinating. What I find incredible is not just the 52% increase he helped them achieve in course completion rates, but that he did it by focusing on the human side of technology. 52%, that's huge. It's one thing to make small improvements, but that's a complete transformation. How did he do it?
It's easy to think online education is just about having the right content and the right platform. But Dr. Amroush understands there's more to it than that. There's a human element that can't be ignored.
So it's not just about more tech, better tech, it's about understanding the people using it.
Right. He used behavioral economics not to trick anyone, but to really get at why people struggle with online learning and what those psychological roadblocks are.
And this wasn't just some side project. This was for Meta's digital marketing program on Coursera. Millions of people use that platform. Do we know any specifics about what he found and how he tackled those barriers?
You're right, it was a real-world application.
Yeah.
Though the specifics of his work with Meta haven't been made public, we can get some clues from his overall approach.
So looking at the bigger picture of his work.
Exactly. He's a big advocate for personalization in online education, breaking down learning into smaller chunks, what's often called micro-learning and gamification. And these aren't just trendy words. They're rooted in how our brains work.
It's like making it easier to learn without even realizing it.
Exactly. Microlearning makes it easier to digest information, and gamification taps into our natural desire for rewards, keeping us engaged and motivated.
It all comes back to that idea of making learning accessible, even enjoyable. And it makes you wonder, what else could we apply this human-centered approach to?
That's a great question. And when we talk about applying these principles broadly, we have to mention Newversity. This is where so many of Dr. Amroush's passions come together.
This is his own creation, right?
Yes. He took his diverse expertise and built this online education platform that boasts a 92% completion rate and a 71% certification success rate, practically unheard of in the world of online learning.
Those numbers are impressive. It's one thing to get people to sign up. It's another to keep them engaged all the way through to certification. What makes Newversity stand out? Is it all down to those behavioral economics principles?
It's a combination of things, but at its core is the use of AI to make the learning experience personalized. Remember his early work with product selection, using AI to understand what people want and guide their decisions. Imagine applying that to how we learn.
So instead of a one-size-fits-all course, you get something tailored to how you learn best.
Exactly. Newversity uses AI to adapt to each student, creating a learning path that fits their needs, their learning style, even their mood. It's like having a personal tutor with you all the time.
That's a game changer. And it really highlights how Newversity is about more than just checking boxes. It's about equipping people with the skills they need to thrive in our rapidly changing world.
It's truly inspiring to see someone like Dr. Amroush seamlessly blending these different fields to solve real problems. From using blockchain to transform global trade to revolutionizing online education with AI and behavioral economics, he embodies the power of interdisciplinary thinking.
He's proof that you don't have to be confined by traditional boundaries.
And that's a great takeaway for our listeners today. Dr. Amroush's story shows us that our strengths often lie at the crossroads of our passions and experiences. What unique skills do you have? What are you passionate about? What problems are you uniquely equipped to solve?
Such thought-provoking questions. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Blend your interests and forge your own path. And who knows, maybe you'll be the subject of our next deep dive. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.